All right, you putties. It's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges because it's Morphin time! I'm Sean Kelly.
I'm Marty T.
I'm Pat Sellers.
I'm Simon Blanford.
And we wish it was the 90s. Now, I guess starting off on a bit of a somber note, November 19, 2022, we lost Jason David Frank, most well known as Tommy the Green Ranger, and once introduced in season 1, became one of the staples of the show, and I think one of the most returning actors to the franchise. So in honor of Jason, we're covering his debut 5-episode saga, Green with Evil. And before we get into it too much, Simon has a public service announcement.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I watched this for the first time in 25 years, very recently, and I'd just like to say to all of our adoring audience, stop what you're doing right now if you haven't watched this in the last year. It's on your Netflix. Have a watch of an episode. Just because it's just not going to be funny if you don't do that. There's some just ridiculous stuff that you'll witness. You won't regret it. And you'll enjoy the chat that we have and much more if you just watch one episode, and you might get hooked.
I think if you wanted to watch the specific episodes that we are watching, I think it's season 1. Is it episode 18 through 22? Is that?
Yeah, I'll look
through
down
21.
here.
It's around there.
Yeah, Marty's giving you the thumbs up.
Beauty. So memories. We'll start with you, Marty.
Memories, yeah. Heading back after school to watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I distinctly remember as a youngster, I can't even remember what year it came out, but my parents were quite dissatisfied with me watching, hoarding the TV in the lounge. And one day I distinctly remember the old man saying, sorry, mate, Power Rangers isn't on today. I heard earlier that a few of them have got the flu, so they've called in sick today. So, yeah, maybe tomorrow, eh? So that's probably my most lasting memory of the show. Yeah. What about you, Si?
So, yeah, I barely watched it as a kid because I started watching it, and mainly my memory is just various kids just fighting at Petone Central School, just pretending to be Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and very soon after a newsletter going home, strongly discouraging us from watching it, just telling parents basically that you shouldn't let your kids watch the show, and my parents, being sticklers for the rules, said that that show was banned. So, yeah, I watched about 3 or 4 episodes, and it was a huge deal, and my parents banned us from watching it in the house, and I was just really angry with them for being so uncool while everybody else still got to watch it.
How about you, Paddy?
I barely remember actually watching it, but I remember of it. I definitely watched it, but I remember the toys more, which I think, especially Zealand, the toys potentially came out before the show actually started. But yeah, it was quite. I don't have a lot of memory of actually watching the show, so I was looking forward to doing this because I thought I could just say the Power Rangers colours and not have to remember any names. But after about 2 minutes of that, I realised that I was going to have to learn their names based on some of the selections they made there.
Do you know all their Zords as well?
The what? Are you talking about, what is it, Goldar and all those weird...
No. Their robots are called Zords, aren't they?
They
sure are.
There's just the main robot. What's the Alpha?
We don't speak his name. My memories are quite similar to Marty's. I had this tiny little TV that would be smaller than an iPad in terms of screen that I had sitting upstairs in my house in Lower Hutt, and I used to get home. I used to ring a girl I know on the landline. I won't name her, but we're friends at St Peter and Paul's, and I'd call her on the landline, and we would watch together and only talk during the commercials.
Like a 90s romance.
Yeah, that was,
Understood.
and yeah, I was obsessed. I had all sorts of toys and
With the show. Oh, you
yeah.
still don't get memory.
Yeah, I was very much into it. Yeah, I was a real Jason guy, and I actually resented Tommy for coming in and being cooler.
Should I give a quick rundown of the names? So we can use the names. So we've got Jason, who is the red. We've got
Tyrannosaurus
Zach.
Rex.
Yeah. Zach, who is wearing the black Power Ranger suit.
Well worded.
Kimberly's
Is he the Mastodon, Zach?
He sure is.
Yeah.
and
Kimberly's
pink.
What is she? Pteranodon?
Pterodactyl, isn't it?
Or pterodactyl?
Yeah. We've got Trini, who is wearing the yellow-coloured Power Ranger suit. And Billy, who's the blue Power Ranger, who's, that was a good throwback. He's hot off the heels of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, played by Rick Moranis. So,
He's a Triceratops. And we've got Tommy the Green Ranger, who's a dragon.
we do have that. And what's the main bad guy's name? Is it Rita?
Rita Repulsa.
All right. Well, I think I only got one of those other weird monster guys, the Catman being Goldar, I think.
What about, and there's the
Zordon.
Zordon's the head.
Yep.
The floating
And
head.
who's the scorpion lady?
Scorpion lady.
I think it's Scorpia.
Scorpina.
Scorpia. And then, several henchmen and many putties.
Don't know what the grey minions are called.
They're the
There's heaps
putties.
of those. They're the putties?
Yeah.
Look at this. I watched all 5 episodes trying to get them, and I just kept zoning out. And I was like,
Pat, it's
I don't
very
know any
clear.
of these people.
You and I know the least by miles. Marty and Sean are going to carry us knowledge-wise here.
Yeah. Which I think probably made great viewing for us this time around, because I didn't remember anything really going into it. And
So
it was an
I'm
experience.
going to give you guys an abridged history of how this became a thing.
Right.
Bear in mind, I wrote these notes before Christmas, and they aren't very well written. So there's a genre of film and television in Japan called tokusatsu, which is where it's very heavy on practical special effects. This is the genre that gave us Godzilla. Right? Godzilla, the original man in a suit. And then so they use this genre to come up with toy lines, and they had Japanese Spider-Man who sold a lot of toys, and they worked out we need more toys, so we need more characters, and they have to have different colors, and so that's where you get the Sentai or the Morphers. And what they stole from Japanese Spider-Man was he also had a giant robot. So now they went from having one character and a toy robot to 5 characters and 5 toy robots. And they used the idea of Transformers to make them be able to change. So the Super Sentai series was very popular in Japan, and Stan the Man Lee of Marvel fame went to Japan and saw it and wanted to buy the rights to take it to America. And he got $25,000 to do it for Marvel Productions. And the CEO, Margaret Loesch, who Pat might know as one of the producers of the X-Men animated series, her and Stan pitched it to Marvel, and they got laughed out of the room when they saw the footage.
I
It's
think
not
there
that
would have been a lot of
surprising.
people's reactions upon seeing the
Yeah.
show for the first time.
It would have been a tough
Absolutely.
pitch.
Yeah.
So whoever pitched it and won could sell anything.
So they made a pilot, and it dwindled in darkness for 8 years.
Wow.
And then it got taken to Fox Kids, who was now being run by Margaret Lush, and she remembered it from her time with Stan the Man and picked it up straight away. And Mighty Morphin Power Rangers became this. Even during filming, people thought it would fail. They did a bit of a dial test with kids, and they absolutely fizzed for it. And it just became this like ridiculous institution of the 90s and later, and a few other interesting things. So they wanted morphing in the title because of Transformers.
Was the title, John? You might know this, and sorry if I'm stealing your thunder here, but
Yeah, you're
was
right.
the title made to reflect the name or be similar sounding to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Bang on. That was my next point.
Nice.
Okay, what was that about?
It's like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I don't know, just catchy, I guess. And the toy company that made the toys was a massive part of the production of the show, which makes sense because the show is made to sell toys.
Yeah.
And that's how we got 5 teenagers with attitude.
Oh, that was outstanding, right?
When I was doing the research, and there's that great Netflix series, The Toys That Made Us, that cover a lot of this in their Power Rangers episode. To take a property from another country, dub it, and I mean, the dubbing over Rita is terrible, but the rest of it's fine because they're in masks or costumes, and just film the scenes. When I knew that and then watched the episodes, I was expecting to not see them fight when they're in their civvies. But they actually all do quite a lot of fighting out of costume as well. So you get Jason and Tommy's fight at the start.
The main guy was some sort of martial artist.
Jason.
The guy that plays Jason, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't Kimberly the Pink Ranger some sort of like trained gymnast or something like that as well?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Right. That's all I've got to say about the history, and I did think it was interesting.
Very.
Look, I'm not going to run through pound for pound the story, but so Tommy's the new kid in school. He's so evenly matched with Jason in fighting abilities that they tie their karate fight. And Rita, from wherever that base is, sees that and goes, "Oh, I think I found my Green Ranger," and casts a spell on him or something. And they spend 5 episodes on the back foot. Tommy infiltrates their base and gets rid of Zordon and throws a CD into Alpha 5's back to give him a virus. And it's back and forward, right? I quite like when Rita throws her giant stick down and says, "Make my whatever big," and then whoever she throws it at becomes ginormous. I don't know if there's much to delve into the actual storyline. They don't know it's Tommy for ages, and then, it's all backs against the wall. They somehow Rita causes a solar eclipse, so the Zords can't get power because they're solar powered.
Yeah, it's all about the unintentional comedy, really. I guess we could just jump into anyone want to discuss some, interesting things that they saw throughout.
There's just so many wacky villains. Like all the ones in big costumes that were obviously from the Japanese show. Through to the 2 bullies at school that
great.
I don't know who created those characters, but they look like the 2 people that would get bullied at a school. They kind of flipped it. Maybe it's a nice touch, or they just didn't understand high school. But there's just
they also looked very old.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're definitely the oldest in that school. Maybe that's why they're bullying everyone.
Maybe Billy would be the oldest. I reckon Billy would be like median age of the faculty.
Yeah, but so I thought Billy looked real old, but I looked it up and he would have been about 23, 24 when this was filming.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's a real 40-20.
Pretty, yeah.
Um,
It's still pretty old for a high schooler.
I think that since this was made, copyright on Wizard of Oz hadn't actually expired when this was made, and this is just a blatant Wizard of Oz ripoff.
I mean, certainly Oz looks a lot like, Zordon looks a lot like Oz.
Zordon is just Oz.
It's funny you say that, Si, 'cause I actually noticed that it probably wasn't the only show that it kind of rips off. Because I thought it was a bit of an amalgamation of a lot of 90s classics. First one being like Saved by the Bell, as far as like the school environment, very similar like decor. Captain Planet, in relation to the casting of the 5 Planeteers / Power Rangers, covers a lot of different areas of the world, etc.
Like it.
And then the other 2 shows, which are quite similar to each other, was do you guys remember the Aussie Gladiators?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do we remember the
And-
Gladiators?
Yeah, like as far as the choreography and ridiculousness of the fighting styles, and then the other one, which was alongside the storylines, I thought was Raw, WWE.
Nice.
Yeah. With a heel turn early.
Yeah, love
Yeah,
a heel
very
turn.
true. Very true. And the other Wizard of Oz. So there was Zordon Oz, Rita Repulsa, Wicked Witch of the West.
Who literally has a broomstick slash.
Yeah.
She looks like is she riding a bike or
Laughs maniacally like the Wicked Witch of the West, and also one of the sidekicks, Squat, is like a blue monkey type of character, which is like exactly like the flying monkeys on Wizard of Oz. So, some pretty blatant plagiarism I felt there.
And I guess as well, like perspective wise, the show was made first in Japan, where it would have been a lot easier to borrow ideas and people to not really notice.
Yeah, and I've got one question really that might lead our discussion, and I've got a few points to add if we agree or disagree. But do we think the show is, I apologise to all the huge fans out there, but do we think the show is aware of just how awful it is? Like, do you think they are like is it self-aware? Like the new hot guy, the Green Ranger, arrives, and there is literal harp music that plays when he comes onto the screen. Like,
I reckon that they thought it was meant. It was the 90s.
Yeah. Do you think they actually thought it was mint, or are they kind of taking the piss out of themselves a bit?
They play literally the bullies have comedy music plays whenever they're in the scene.
Yeah, it's like clown music.
That was my best bit.
Yeah, that's always good. I reckon they were trying to make it mint, but like also just trying to ram as many toys down your throat as possible.
Yeah, like the checkerboard wipe.
What's that?
It was a checkerboard wipe from like a cutscene. Like it was literally like a checkerboard that came across the screen to signify a new. Great.
I was thinking of Jason's flute sword. That was a good touch. It's like we're definitely going to sell this. Tommy, sorry.
Yeah, when he plays that thing to summon the dragon Zord, I was a bit...
Yeah, that was all very confusing.
I kept expecting to see Lana Cockcroft walking around in a cocktail dress because I swear this was filmed at Avalon Studios. It was a real Avalon Studios vibe to it.
Yeah, it does. It does. I also like they. Sean was talking about how they're heavy on the practical effects. Their main special effect seems to be putting things in reverse.
Or there's also
jump down off this. We'll just put it in reverse. It'll look like you're almost flying.
There's also a scene where Kimberly and Zach maybe fight some putties, or I think it's putties, and they just clearly put it up to like 1.25 speed to make the fight look faster.
That's like things in the background moving at 1.5.
What did you guys think of Alpha 5?
Aye.
Best ask someone else other than me, Bob, because I don't even know what that is.
That's the robot that lives in the base.
Is that the R2D2 type ripoff, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. C3PO, I guess.
yeah, C3PO ripoff. Yeah. Well, he was just C3PO, wasn't he?
Yeah. I love how him and Billy, when they talk tech, they just say tech words. Someone put a virus into his data banks. And to fix the computer, Billy just switched a few wires around.
Which was clearly made by just a gaffer, like cutting holes in some MDF board and putting some old like motherboards in there, and there we go.
It was terrible, wasn't it? It was terrible. That was a great point.
Well, while they're making that sort of stuff, they were just being like, it doesn't matter. These kids won't know. They'll still buy all the toys.
And they did.
Yep.
So I've got no idea really what was going on the whole time.
Simon, you first.
I've got no idea what was going on the whole time. So can I just ask a few questions as an ignorant viewer?
Sure.
When they morph, so like they're about to have a fight.
Mm-hmm. And they use it's Morphin time stock footage.
Yeah, it's humans, and then they morph into the Power Rangers. Like, are they still on Earth? And they're doing that? Are they on some like alternate universe? Because they're in a school, or wherever they are. Then they morph, and they're on like rocks in like a completely different area. So is it still Earth?
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's part of the town that's in somewhere in America and also somewhere in Japan.
Is it Angel Grove?
Angel Grove, yeah, that's the town.
Okay, that's good. So that was one of the questions I had. What's the deal with the dinosaurs?
They're the Zords.
Yeah, I didn't really understand this.
Marty, do you know much about the Zord lore?
Not necessarily the Zord lore, but like I guess essentially the magic, if you like, with which they are able to morph, also gives them the ability to summon these Zords of various different animal likeness to be able to then jump in and operate them like a fighting robot. And they also had the ability to link up together to become the Megazord.
Captain Planet, as you pointed out, Marty, Captain Planet.
Very much a Captain Planet type of scenario, yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things in Japanese culture that follow that model of things coming together to make a bigger thing, right? In anime and stuff like that, right? I couldn't tell you any of them, but I know that that's a thing, right? This isn't the first time we've seen robots make bigger robots. I mean, the Constructicons do it for the Decepticons.
Yeah.
I was very confused about how they all ended up in that like same platform when they combine. That
I thought, that didn't make sense. What I thought was most,
but I guess magic.
Yeah, magic.
Eh?
Magic. There's a lot of teleporting going on, so
yeah.
What confused me the most is that each of the Zords came from like very different places.
Very much so. And conveniently, they were all on the outskirts of Angel Grove.
One comes out of a volcano. The T-Rex comes out, like the earth parts, and he comes out, and there's like flames. One of them's like sprinting across snow. They're just coming from all corners of the globe very quickly. Magic.
Amazing.
Magic.
Simon, more questions?
Before we get into a character draft, I just got a couple of other comments. Is that all right?
Yeah.
The one thing which I foolishly didn't actually understand until I started watching the show again was that I thought the word Morphin was just some random, cool, alliterative word that went after Mighty. How dumb's that? I didn't actually realise that was them morphing it into something else. I just thought it was some really cool word. So that was dumb. And the other thing I noticed, just pardon my French, but that soundtrack is badass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a video on YouTube, and it took me about 30 seconds to figure out that it was indeed fake. But someone's done they've done like a recording of it that makes it sound like it's live, and the video is Metallica playing live. And for about 30 seconds, I was like, "Is this legit? Are they playing the the Power Rangers theme song?" But it's it's a good video.
It's also quite believable because Metallica
Chuck that on the socials.
covered Star Wars tunes for their Symphony and Metallica tour.
There was some Van Halen-esque guitarist going nuts throughout a lot of the fight scenes, and it was genuinely impressive. As opposed to most of it, where I was just laughing. I was like, "Oh, that guy's very, very good guitarist."
Yeah, the great issue with the catchy tune is that it will not leave your brain. It's living rent free for the next 3 days. You're sitting at your desk doing some work and you're just going dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it was like if someone asked me to say this theme song before watching, there's no way I could have got it. But I like within a couple of seconds of like rewatching this and getting that theme song, I was like, oh, that was buried back there.
Did they make the Metallica video sound like it was Metallica singing it? Like, didn't Go Power Rangers?
Yeah. I feel like they've done something to the voice, unless there's a more modern recording that maybe someone else sings, because there's been like a whole bunch of Power Rangers series and movies and stuff since then, so maybe it's a more modern one, but it does, it's pretty close. We'll throw it up on the socials when I find it again.
Just doubling back to the Zords, and this is a question for you, Marty. In later seasons / series, when maybe they're not Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they're other things because their title changes, do they not also get things like vehicles and...
Yeah, the Zords like change into what the theme is, I think, because they also have like Power Rangers like Space Force. I think there's a space theme one. There's a Dino Thunder one, which they're all dinosaurs, obviously. So there's a few different.
Is there one
like
called Turbo something?
Turbo something. I think there's a Neo something as well. So they've had a few different variations, and I guess obviously it's an opportunity to again flick off more toys to the latest batch of young'uns coming through, because obviously the show appeals to a very small window of age.
All right. A couple of things I also wanted to mention. First of all, the special effects of Goldar when he's giant, waving that bus around, that obviously tiny toy bus, and then the shots of the bullies just rolling around in there was I thought quite exceptional.
Yeah.
And then also just, I guess, appreciation for the fact that like there's quite a lot of scenes of Goldar walking through a cardboard city that they've made for a man in a suit to walk through, and he's just lasering everything and wrecking everything, and there's like fake explosions. Hey, I'm into this as well. And then I guess back. What's that?
Sorry, I just realised. I remembered my absolute favourite bit was Rita had some cracking lines in this, but the best part is when she calls them the Power Geeks.
Same again, like Captain Planet. These planet twerps.
Yeah.
But it does crack me up in the intro when they're doing the voiceover and 5 teenagers with attitude. I'm like, I don't know if any of these 5 have any sort of particular attitude, really. Certainly Billy's got 0 attitude.
Yeah.
Maybe Tommy a little.
Yeah. Tommy, maybe. Jason, maybe.
I think Tommy's ponytail probably gives him the attitude.
I do quite like when they can't use the Zords. The Zords are gone, and I think it's the end of episode 4 / start of episode 5, and they're all pretty much throwing in the towel, and Jason just gives a very motivational speech, like 10%. That means we have a chance. and if we're a chance, we don't stop. I really like that. But then I also like that it cut to the celebration party at Reader's. Everyone's like just having an absolute blast, like with they've won, and it's like the drinks are flowing.
Reminiscent of Bad Guy Bar.
Yeah, it's like it looks right up there.
What do you reckon they drink at Rita's party?
I think Rita would drink champagne, but I think she'd probably just give country medium to her plebs.
Oh, yeah. I reckon she's a bit of a, like, maybe tequila.
Oh yeah.
Tequila. Not a bad shout. I think
Mm.
we're not addressing the elephant in the room. Pat danced around it quite well, but I mean, I don't think we're being racist to point out the fact that the black wearing black Power Ranger is black, and the Vietnamese Power Ranger wears yellow. It's just it's quite incredible, really, isn't it? Looking back, that happened.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting to note, like, at the time as a 8 or 9 year old, that just didn't even process in my brain. But yeah,
Very
Yeah, well,
normal.
Didn't they change it like after one season or something?
Yeah,
But there was also over pay disputes or something.
Yeah, because in the movie when they brought in the new set of Power Rangers, I believe the new Asian representative was the Black Ranger as the woolly mammoth, I think it was, and the African American girl got the Yellow Ranger job because I think Kimberly stayed on as pink and Billy stayed on as blue, and I think Rocky was the red one.
and Tommy moved from green to white, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, he was white. He was definitely the White Tiger before the movie. I think that was in season 2.
and I don't want to condemn the creators for all being horrible racists or anything. I just think it's real interesting, like how the lack of self-awareness. I think so much of us had back then. It's just interesting.
You reckon that's also Kimberly wearing pink as well as a bit of a,
Girly girl.
sexist one, perhaps?
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yep.
100%.
Wouldn't happen today. That's quite reminiscent of a certain Key and Peele skit as well.
These days, they presumably go out of their way to make sure the colours aren't representative of anything.
Or at least chop and change them around. I
Yes.
can't imagine a male leader ranger, whether or not they're red or not. I can't imagine them changing to pink.
No.
There's a good Key and Peele skit. Yeah, a lot of what I was referring to.
Is there anything else you want to? I mean, I guess I've got a few notes, but I don't know if they're really worth. I quite enjoy the big handshake between Tommy and Jason, the bro shake.
Yeah, I thought the fight at the start was a stitch up. I reckon Tommy had him easily, or Tommy was holding back to maybe perhaps be a bit humble going into a new school.
Interesting. There's a lot of interesting things in that fight scene. Clearly, the person calling it the fights doesn't even know what's going on because the person who is before them performs. I can't remember what it's called. It's that type of karate where you don't actually fight anyone. You showcase movements.
I think it's a kata.
Yeah, and the announcer says, "A round of applause for that fantastic piece of martial arts."
I was wondering though, overall, with Tommy getting brought in, obviously that was still part of the Japanese saga and like the way that the show played out. But as far as like a leader, Red Ranger, strong sort of a character, what were your guys' thoughts on Jason? Because I kind of feel that once Tommy joined, he was the unofficial leader of I think they even named him the leader of the Power Rangers towards the end of the 5th episode.
He definitely migrates towards leadership, right? Like, because he's just so popular.
Within these 5? Not within these 5 episodes, though, right?
Not in these 5 episodes. It's still Jason.
Jason's a bit of a hothead in these 5. Like, there's that scene where Zach's holding the bag and he's can't wait to get my hands on this guy. Ooh.
Sort of all blow, no go, perhaps.
I quite liked. I didn't mind Jason. The the only ranger that kind of annoyed me was Billy, and I think it's just because when they're actually doing their Morphin in that stock footage, he looks very uncertain of what he's doing. He looks almost nervous. He's blinking heaps. He's panicking. I just don't understand how he got the call up.
Do we have an age check on him?
Yeah,
How old
I think he's 23 or 24 at the time of these
that was
episodes.
Billy. I thought you
Oh,
were
sorry.
Tommy.
No, I was talking about Billy. No, I'm a
okay.
big Tommy guy. I did look up Tommy, but I didn't write it down. Let's just see here. So, born in 73. So he would have been early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah.
He actually looked a lot younger than I was expecting, because I've seen so much of him on like social media and stuff like that as an older guy.
That might have been Rick Moranis. I was just joking about that. It's not actually Rick Moranis.
I'm talking about Tommy. Tommy now, not Billy.
You're going Tommy? That doesn't matter. I thought the character.
I reckon Billy might have been able to shrink the kids. I'm sure that must have been one of the episodes, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Rick Moranis coming up and Pat's selections for the draft.
And we all too well.
This draft is hard because there's 4 of us and we need to pick 8 characters. There's 6 rangers and there's not much else to pick from.
I don't have one ranger on my list.
Well, there we go.
Ooh, yeah. He can spice things up.
That sounds like Sellers styled picks. Is there anything else before we get into the
I promise not to pick the alien from Spice Girls.
the draft?
No, I can't wait for the draft. Looking forward to it.
Was it you that picked Uncle Frank, Pat?
I stand by my picks.
Right, I've got the wheel of names up here to see who goes first.
Sorry, just before we do crack into it, I know Cy and Patty, you might not necessarily have been into Power Rangers as much in the day, but if you could maybe think of when you were that age, which Power Ranger you perhaps would have wanted to emulate?
Ooh.
And Bob, for you, like which one did you emulate?
Marty, you know which one I wanted to be.
I know which one. Yeah, I know we haven't talked about this, but I do know.
I'd assume everyone wanted to be the Red Power Ranger.
I think as soon as the Green Ranger came on, he was the most popular. You can't argue with gold shoulder pads.
Oh, yeah. A lot more spongier on rewatch than I remember as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, so much of my childhood was just based on appearances. You know, the things I liked. So I started liking the Los Angeles Lakers because I liked the yellow and purple uniforms. Like the Miami Dolphins because they were the teal, turquoise uniforms. So for me, it was the Green Ranger just because that looked the coolest.
Mm-hmm.
Were you making your thoughts clear when you said the Red Ranger?
Pat's furiously looking up character names as we speak.
Yeah, 100%. What's the question?
Pat's otherwise engaged. His brain power can't go past the.
Sorry, what was I asking?
Let's get into the draft.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I'm on the wheel of names and it said add our bot to your Discord server and spin wheels from within Discord, but I'll save that for the next time because I don't want to crash Craig. All right, here we go. You guys can't hear it, but it's making a lovely spinning sound. Simon, you have first and last pick.
Oh, interesting.
The wheel of names just gave you a polite round of applause. Second on the draft will be Marty. So you have second and 7th. Then Pat, you have 3rd and 6th. And now I'll get rid of that because it's making my computer lag. All right, here we go. I already forgot. Simon, are you first?
I'm first.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so look, I've made my bed clearly, and I've said that we were banned from watching the show as kids. You know, I don't know the minutiae of the show, so this isn't probably going to be a pick that's going to please the Power Ranger train spotters. But I'm going to go based on pure appearances. The Pink Power Ranger, Kimberly Hart. Just because, just as a kid, just an absolute babe, really, and really liked the cut of her jib. Lovely looking young lady, as I thought as an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old or however old we were, and so that's why I'm picking her.
Emphasis that you thought she was good looking when you were 8.
Oh no, of course, but you know, now as a 36-year-old, you know, it's probably I'm not sure how appropriate it is. But, she's good looking, but even though she's probably about 60 now or something.
America's sweetheart, can't go wrong there. So, my pick. I love a villain. I love a doofus. So obviously, I've gone Goldar. He's got the ability to morph into a Megazord-sized monster. Offers great comedic value, and all around, he's the most bling out of all of them.
Yeah, nice. Great pick, Marty. Great pick.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list.
Is Goldar a cat?
Goldar's the big gold thing.
But is it a
Is
cat?
He's got like a cat face. Is Goldar the troll-looking one?
Oh, I thought he was cat-like.
Yeah, he's a cat guy, right? Goldar.
Yeah, he's the one who gets the one-on-one
Might be a
with
wolf.
Jason.
It's confusing anyway. I've got number 3, don't I? So I'm gonna I'll take a villain as well. I've got to pick from these 5 episodes because I don't really remember enough of it from when I was a kid. And I'm going to take Rita, take her off the board.
Very fair. Very fair.
2 scenes where she just stole the show for me, and one has already been mentioned when she calls them the Power Geeks, and then when she's got this mastermind plan of getting her Green Ranger, Tommy, and she's up on a roof screaming at him not to give away his secret identity. Bit counterproductive, but I enjoyed it.
That was a great scene.
All right, I've got 2 picks here. I guess I'm going to pick with my heart here and pick Jason to lead my pair. And I don't think I need to say much about that. For my second and final pick, no team is successful without a good scientist working in the background, so I'm going to go with Finster.
Chucky Finster? Oh no, wrong show.
Finster's the big-eared, glasses-wearing scientist who works for Rita.
Of course.
Yeah.
Pat and Simon don't remember him.
I don't remember who the fuck that is.
Absolutely no idea. Who's that, Marty or Pat?
It'd be me. Once again, got to go off these 5 episodes, and quite surprised to see Paulie Shaw with a role in this as Skull, one of the 2 bullies at school, the slightly smaller one. I was a big fan of the clown music every time they came up.
Yep.
Their whole shtick made no sense and was brilliant. So I'll take the leader of the bullies in Skull.
Great choice, Pat. My pick was actually going to be Bulk and Skull as a combo, but as Skull's gone,
I would have agreed with that. I would have actually condoned that, Marty, by the way.
But I see where you're going. Yeah, Paulie Shaw. So as they've gone, I've gone. Yeah, I'll choose this one. So an underrated, underthanked members of the show were the putties. Rita's robot thingies that she would send out to fight the Rangers that would always get a hiding. A little bit like Funaki from WWE, perhaps. Bit of a jobber. But yeah, always crucial to the show, I thought.
They seem to be really good at fighting until they came close to contact. Like while they're jumping around, they're doing like massive kicks and all this sort of stuff, and then as soon as they get close to contact, they seem to fall down.
Yeah, they really like.
Yeah, if you didn't have to make contact in a fight, they might have had the upper hand.
To Pat's point about the contact, they were much like a English rugby backline. Always look good until that to get into contact.
Just a bunch of Mike Cats.
Just a bunch of Mike Cats.
Traveling.
Want to mention this. I'm not going to choose this person, but Trini Kwan, the yellow Power Ranger, may she also rest in peace. Died in 2001 in a car crash, sadly. So just want to mention that. But my character is definitely going to be. I'm very happy this character is still here. It's Bulk, for the exact same reasons that Pat chose Skull. Just ridiculous comedy duo, the music, him being kind of a fat guy, everything about him, loved.
What do you think of his Steve Menzies headgear?
What was up with his headgear?
Yeah, I mean, just another reason to say that's the steal of the draft, really.
All right, well, that's one of the more interesting drafts we've had, and I'm quite pleased with how it went. Does anyone have any final thoughts before I sign us off out of this one?
I have heard that there may or may not be a little bit of a 30-year remake, reunion, or reboot of some kind. Is
Netflix.
Anyone else got some mail on that?
Yeah, I know that obviously with unfortunately 2 deceased members, they won't be returning. And unfortunately, Simon, for you, the actress who played Kimberly won't be returning.
What?
Why not?
I didn't click on the article, if I'm honest.
She's still with us.
She's still with us.
Yeah, right.
Good.
But yeah, so those Jason, Zaki, and Billy, I think, plus some others who are from the earlier seasons of Power Rangers will be there.
The one other thing just before we do sign off was we didn't really mention the Kiwi connection with some of the I know it's not on these particular episodes, but in some of the later seasons of Power Rangers, I think you might have even seen like maybe 1 or 2 of the Mangasiva brothers.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I even think there may have been a season that they filmed the non Power Ranger suited version in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So good to see the Kiwi brothers in there.
I've just done a little look at it. It was Pua Magasiva.
I did mention Cocroft before, Marty. Avalon Studios.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it was an Avalon Studios number, right?
But it was Pua Magasiva, another
Power
Ranger who's left us.
Power Ranger curse.
Yeah.
Would have been crack up. How do you reckon the Power Rangers would have gone, like coming up against a villain and perhaps doing a haka?
Well, we didn't even talk about the hand actions they do when they get inside the Megazord. They just
very handsome.
Real jaunty, harsh arm flailing. And I just, with the knowledge that the actors that are saying the lines aren't in the suits, they've been shown this footage, and you're like, you need to say like pterodactyl ready to go, or whatever they have to say, and it's bizarre. But anyway, without further ado, I'd like to remind all the Rangers out there, first, never use your power for personal gain. Second, never escalate a battle unless Rita forces you. And finally, keep your identity a secret. No one may know that you are a Power Ranger.